Hello, how are you? That is probably how I will sound after I do this keg stand. Big surprise, this segment is pre-recorded. There's a keg sitting right here that as of the time you watch this, I will have done hopefully at least a 15-second keg stand on. So I just decided to give you a drunk hello because that's what you get from me for later day. See, right now I may even sound it. I'm just drunk thinking about it. That's how nervous I'm about this keg stand. Of course, this is not brought to you by the Keg Stand, and thanks to our friends at Southern Roots, by the way. This is brought to you by Texas Beef House. Go to texasbeefhouse.com. Use our promo code SICK'EM10. Today, top 5 SEC storylines as we're in the midst of SEC Media Days, and we've talked about it a lot on the show today. Number 5, is there a Bama drop-off? And if there is, what's that drop-off? Is this a 9-3 or an 8-4 team this year as they adjust to not having the Saban-level depth? In a year or two, they'll have Kalen DeBoer depth, which is pretty good depth, and they'll probably be really good. And they still have Jalen Milroe. They still have a lot of really good players. But is Bama not there competing for the conference title in the last 2 weeks because they might have too many losses? I think that's a distinct possibility. I don't know what lies in store for them because we haven't seen this Bama in 17 years of a coaching change. Number 4. Will someone surprise the league? Is it A&M? Is it Mizzou? Maybe not be much of a surprise. Is it Tennessee? Is it Kentucky or Vanderbilt? Diego Pavia is coming into Vanderbilt. They might win some games. They might be bowl eligible again. You don't know under Clark Lee. There's always someone in the SEC that's in every league that's better than everybody thought. Who that's going to be is anybody's guess. Garrett, you thought it was going to be Oklahoma?
Very good chance.
Yeah. I'm going to say Kentucky might surprise some people.
They can.
I think Kentucky might surprise some people, and I wouldn't be surprised if A&M surprised some people because they're still got a lot of talent, and they got a much more efficient coaching staff. But we'll see. A&M at 9-3 would be a surprise. A&M at 8-4 would not be a surprise. That's their default mode. That's where they are. Like when you buy the A&M phone, it comes on 8-4. You have to change the settings to get to something else. Number 3, is it time for the Lane Train? Is this a legitimate playoff team? It feels like it might be, given as much talent as they have. Jackson Dart coming back. And when you talk about the best quarterbacks in the country, quite often Jackson Dart's a little lower on the list, but he has probably more starts and more numbers than most of them. He's got a lot of wins under his belt. He got really good last year when they brought in Spencer Sanders to push him and Walker Howard as the future. So, look, if Ole Miss doesn't do it this year, I don't know what they're doing with,
it's now or never.
Yeah, Walter Nolan and all those other things. But it might be time for the Lane Train in the SEC. Number 2, does Billy Napier have the same office in 2025? This is a big one because Florida is a name brand program, not just in the SEC, but nationally. Does he have enough to get it done with the toughest schedule in the history of any sport ever? I feel confident saying that. I don't even know if it's the toughest sport in the toughest schedule in the history of any sport ever, but I feel like if you compared it to most, they'd be like, this is absolutely brutal. Honestly, their easiest game is against A&M and UCF. Those are not easy games in Miami. Those are their 3 easiest games that are not, the FCS gimme. I mean, there's a legit chance this is a 2-10 team. And Mississippi State's probably their easiest one. And again, I don't think that's going to be all that easy. It's the SEC. Man. By the way, this is totally me. Totally me. I mean, there are a lot of other pictures and GIFs I could have used. But when I saw this one, I had no choice. My hands are tied. What else am I supposed to do? Number 1, how do the newbies fare? And look, this one is a very funny GIF of Texas. Texas is probably going to fare pretty well. They're loaded for bear. How does Oklahoma do? Garrett's surprise team in the SEC this year. That is the big story. How well do you fit in and how quickly? Remember, A&M's first season in the SEC was probably their best season.
And Mizzou.
And the SEC. Same with Mizzou. So maybe that's the way It goes for Texas and Oklahoma. Texas is a legit playoff contender, a legit national championship contender. That's who they are. But what is Oklahoma? Or does the brunt of this schedule get to both of them? I don't know. If it's really that much better, like the SEC says it is, maybe they won't be as good. Now, I don't think that. I think they'll both be fine. Texas better than Oklahoma, but you never know. But how they fare is the big story in the SEC this year, according to this guy right here. Paul Catalina, this has been the Top 5. We're back to wrap it up. I hope I'm alive.